Now, I'm not saying that there wasn't drug problems in the Army, because it was in April 2009, and there was a health and welfare check, and we had all of our shit searched. Over half of the company had illegal drugs. And, excuse me, what happened was there was bootleg drug dealers downrange. Well, and we were able to get things shipped to us and whatever else. The reason why the health and welfare check happened is because people were on force protection and got caught being doped up. And from there, most of the drugs that were found were just human growth hormones, basically a form of steroid. But, only a couple of people got caught with actual narcotic drugs, but it was the human growth hormone. But,
the United States ain't doing nothing for us, man. We busted our ass. We went over there to an army to kill, and 99% of us got killed, and we didn't get nothing for it. They give us a piece of paper that says to us, we're Vietnam veterans, and we can get disability, and we can get this, and we can get...
you see, I'm in a 1%, not even a 1%. So yeah.
Job, and we ain't got nothing to get our welfare. You understand?
The war in Vietnam is over, and the junkies are coming home, angry and scared and strung out. In New York City, there are 300,000 Vietnam-era veterans, and 40,000 of them are addicts. Most of them began using heroin, barbiturates, and amphetamines in Vietnam.
See that right there? This backs up my claim that Vietnam veterans are a bunch of freaking. Not saying that all of them were, and maybe I'm not trying to let a few bad apples spoil it for the bunch, but the big problem is, difference is that we didn't have, we're shit drugs and LSD and this, that, and the other. Which is probably part of the reason why the war went on so long, is because people were doped up and became paranoid and whatnot. And, and people had to tell you to go to war instead of just fighting the damn war, getting it over with, and then fighting the damn government for putting us there. And the thing is that the global war on terrorism is the longest war in American history. And yeah, I've got my 2 Article 15s for freaking smoking dope or whatever else. And you know what? Freaking the pharmaceuticals that they were putting me on were a bunch of shit. And not an excuse, and the thing is that, I asked my ex-wife not to bring this shit around me because I was too weak at the time and just couldn't deal with temptation. And, well, what's love, right? What's love got to do with it? There's a big difference between global war on terrorism junkies and Vietnam junkies. Because look at the Vietnam War from what was it? The 60s. Well, basically, it just went from the war in Korea into the war in Vietnam. There was just a mild transition, a kind of gray area. But I think the draft ended in 72 or 73, and There's just difference between Vietnam era veterans and global war on terrorism veterans. And the thing is, you know what? Consider me as fucked up as you want to. Freaking say whatever the fuck you want to say about me. You know what? I'm a product of your freaking failed system. And at least I'm trying to do something about it. Because I am labeled a freaking disgruntled grunt. You know, disgruntled veteran. Disgruntled grunt. Well, I'm freaking a discontinued veteran. I'm a veteran of the or of infantryman. You know, I'm a discontinued infantryman. That's what I am. And the thing is, I'm trying to make that transition because the system has failed along the way. And I'm trying to do it. And I don't give a fuck who the fuck likes me or doesn't like me. The thing is, I'm making my own fucking road. No one else is making a road for me. Is anyone else freaking jerking me off? Fuck no. You know what? Freaking much rather be alone in bad company. Freaking look at the soldiers of Alexander. Decades of servitude. Going without the most human of interactions and emotions. I think I'm doing pretty fucking well. All things considered. So how about people just calm down and back the fuck away? You're not hurt by my actions, I promise you. You don't have to understand it. I'm not asking you to understand shit. I'm not asking you to watch my shit. I mean, there's certain things, you know what, freaking, when the time comes, I'll freaking make them a little bit better. But right now, I'm freaking in the thick of it. But there's a big difference between the Vietnam era veterans and the global war on terrorism veterans. We're a volunteer generation. We're not the drafted generation. And we're in line with World War II, the world's greatest generation. People freaking volunteer, and we volunteer because, well, look at us. I mean, I was 18 when the Twin Tower, and when on 9/11, I was in senior year of high school and whatnot, right? And freaking, so you think about it, a lot of the people from my day were having kids, and freaking 9/11 is such an impactful day that it's been broadcast, and that's why we keep on volunteering for this war. And the thing is that we don't even understand it. We don't even understand it. And what's happening is exactly what's happened in 1984, and there's these wars and these things are just taking place, and it's just like, well, it's so hard for the average person to keep up. And being that I've been afforded an opportunity by those who gave more than I could ever give, which is why I have this inheritance to, and I'm trying to do something with it. I'm trying to just summarize, and maybe, hey, I'm doing all right for being by my fucking self. All right, I can't rely on people. I can't. I've proven that. Anyways, let's
Most of them came home with less than honorable drug-related discharges.
I'm actually retired. I'm honorably discharged. I've retired with benefits, with my 20-year benefits.
These GIs are ineligible for veterans' educational, home loan, and employment benefits. They get no long-term VA medical or psychological treatment for their addiction. They're offered only methadone, a numbing drug with which some men can function and others can't.
Well, you know what I've got to say about that? and this is maybe I'm too cold and too. I stayed away from it. I maintained a discipline. I was able to get my rank back. I was able to prove myself. I didn't let freaking my insecurities, my guilt, my freaking mindless self-indulgence stop me from doing the right thing. What I did was the right thing long enough to freaking do my own thing. And granted, during this time, MK Ultra was taking place, and that's why there was so much LSD. And, like, the drug scene was so rampant, whatnot, and we were in war, and it was basically the Vietnam War was a experiment. To seeing like, hey, well, freaking people on heroin, they're gonna feel like this and become super soldiers, and that's when you have a bunch of freaking scientists that just freaking collect data and try to interpret it instead of actually watching the experiment take place. Because what the scientists were basing their information off of was bringing, hey, we have this one heroin attitude, freaking, look at what was it, Scarface and shit. He was on coke and whatever else, and was, nothing could stop him in the end. But just eventually he stopped. But, they were expecting that. And we look at the drug use in World War II, and Hi Hitler is a great documentary, just talking about the drug use in the during World War II, and the thing is that there was a situation. It was 2003, 2006. A pilot that was up in the air for like freaking a lot longer than he should have. Tapped into a stimulant that was, not supposed to be there. I mean, it's supposed to be there, but more for survival situations. But, anyways, the pilot ended up dropping bombs on his own targets, like on coalition forces. So that's what I'm, trying to explain, like. They've created this problem, and it's kind of hard to pin things, just on the Vietnam veterans and whatnot. But the thing is that, people want to call me weak, whatever else. Well, the thing is, I haven't committed suicide. I've become a hard addict, and I've stayed away from things, and I maintained at least a certain amount of discipline within myself. And in order to try and do the best thing, but at the same time, I needed to show exactly freaking the angst we go through, the pain, the freaking addictions. Because I'm a nerd and whatnot, freaking, I do my own chemistry project, experiments, and I'm getting my freaking chemistry pretty in check. Unfortunately, there's just gotta be a better way to do this. It's a mixture between water, pot, alcohol, freaking botanical, it's herbal. Herbal and bacterial. Maybe that's why I freaking, won't even get into that. But just think about these things, people, like, and because what I'm trying to figure out is, okay, because and they're essentially straining our system because the government allowed, these addicts to come into play, right? There was not enough standards. When I was downrange and stuff, freaking, being that I did KP and stuff, I was able to freaking, jack an extra 2 cans of beer. So I had 4 cans of beer. Actually, maybe maybe it was like less than, maybe it was 6, and less than, it was more than 4, at least 6, and possibly 8. But the thing is, shotgunning 2 beers when you haven't ate anything and haven't drank anything for a while, yeah, that was the best that I did. And then when we got back, we did the spice and stuff, and that was unregulated. But yeah, that was bad. That was addictive. But and people, I guess, did it differently than I did. I just freaking, just like I smoked my pot, I just do little bangers. Little Percy hits. But
I went to Vietnam in September of 1969, and during the time that I was there, I went through certain experiences that led me into using drugs. One of the experiences that I recall was during a night ambush. I killed a 12-year-old kid, which was something that I couldn't handle at that time. Seeing him dead, laying on the ground the next morning, it really stayed on my mind. So I started using drugs, and I kept that up until I came back to the States.
When I used to shoot dope, I didn't have fear. That was the whole thing about it. To keep myself going through the day in combat, I would get high. I would be under the influence of some type of drugs, and I wouldn't feel fear. But after coming down from the drugs, I would start feeling fear, and that's when I would go back to getting high again.
I didn't want to really be there. I was afraid. I was lonely, homesick.
And that's what happens when we don't believe in a war and our government wins, because we start sending a bunch of weaklings into combat. And the thing is that a lot of our alpha males got killed in World War II, not World War One. I mean, and this is why it's so hard to talk about this stuff, because freaking, so we had the baby boomers, and that came about and stuff, and then they put us into another war with a bunch of betas, and then freaking, and that's why Vietnam was a drafted war. And then the thing is that freaking over the years, some alphas have at least tried to be inspired to live through this crap, and unfortunately, freaking like I said, I mean, we see it with all the social justice warriors, freaking all the transgender movements, because most of the people that are transgender are freaking males. And part of the reason for that is that they were betas, or are betas, and they don't get along with, they can't find a girlfriend, and so freaking, they're like, well, let me just act like a girl because this is how I have my interaction with them. And the thing is, I'm just going to be living a lie, and I'm doing whatever else. And oh my God, this is how cucks are born. It's through all of these mindless freaking wars. Why do you think I'm such a threat? Because I'm not fucking breeding with some freaking beta out there. I'm freaking not aligning myself with alphas. I'm freaking just doing my goddamn thing, trying to make a damn difference for my own world. Because unless I have a certain amount of things to control, freaking things are not going to happen. And that's exactly what I'm like, fuck. I've got to do something with this shit. And it sounds completely whatever. And I don't give a fuck, man. I'm way, way above a lot of people, and believe me, I've gone down a lot dirtier than a lot of people too, and I'm not talking about sucking dick and shit like that. I don't fucking eat ass and freaking take freaking blows to the face or down my throat or freaking in the ass. Like freaking, I do things, well, just take care of, be safe, be kind, stay strong, and there's a big difference between Vietnam veterans and global war and terrorism veterans. We are the volunteer generation. Excuse me. And why is it